3811. You know, I sit here in amazement watching the so-called news, listening to it on the radio, watching it on TV, listening to other talk show hosts. And it's very, very strange to me. Now we have the National Enquirer, longtime friend, they tell us, David Pecker, gets federal immunity in the Michael Cohen case. And I'm thinking, federal immunity for what? The chairman of the company, this is CNBC, that publishes the National Enquirer was granted immunity by federal prosecutors as part of an investigation into President Donald Trump's former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, NBC News reports. The immunity deal was earlier reported by the Wall Street Journal and Vanity Fair. Details of the agreement were not immediately known, but the Journal reported earlier Thursday that American Media Inc., the chairman David Pecker, had given prosecutors details about the president's knowledge of payments Cohen made to women alleging affairs with Trump. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for the 4,000th time, the President of the United States is free to spend his money and enter into non-disclosure agreements all he wants. These were events that took place before he was a candidate. This is his own money. He can direct his private attorney to do exactly what he wishes. There's no violation. It's a contract. There's no campaign violation, period. I know people are doing their very, very best to twist this. There is no campaign violation. But the media goes on. The immunity deal could hold significant consequences for Trump, as Pecker could have as much damaging information about the president as anyone in Trump's orbit. He and Pecker have been friends since 1990s. Okay, stop. Wait a minute. I thought the report was that Pecker had assisted in the Michael Cohen case. What is this about everything he knows about the president since the 1990s? You see how far afield we've gone, ladies and gentlemen, from the campaign and Russian interference? That's what the president means by a witch hunt. And I would tell my friends who are lawyers, some of whom have radio shows, that's what's meant by a witch hunt. No discussion whatsoever about the unconstitutional powers of a special counsel, the existence of whom, I would tell the Attorney General, Mr. Sessions, is because of politics. You put out a statement today, you said, you follow the law, you don't let politics influence the department. Surely you did, because it was a political decision when Mr. Rosenstein appointed Mr. Mueller. There was no legal basis for it under your own rules, but he did it. And it's been political since. Pecker has reportedly used his media holdings to shield Trump when the president was a New York real estate developer and reality television star. So now what do we have? We have a criminal investigation into every aspect of the president of the United States. Has anybody ever seen this before against any president? Against any president? And this is now how you're going to bring down a president of the United States? The special counsel hands off an investigation to his colleagues in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, and so they double team him? Now, none of this is going anywhere legally against the president, as I've said 1,000 times. Not only can he not be indicted, let's see if they try to subpoena him. But this will be another chapter in the impeachment report that Mr. Mueller will prepare. That's what it is. And they're going to claim that the president of the United States, knowingly, with intent, on repeated occasions, violated federal campaign laws. But he hasn't. But it won't matter. Mr. Mueller and the lawyers in the Southern District of New York, they're not judges. They're not juries. They're not Supreme Court justices. They will make their allegations. What's happened here is really quite fascinating in a sickening way. Because you cannot indict, listen to me on this, you'll hear it tomorrow, I'm sure, because you cannot indict a sitting president, which now everybody finally agrees, then they're going to use it to their advantage. They don't have to test their arguments in a court of law. They don't have to test the facts in a court of law. They don't have to test their interpretation of the law in a jury trial in a court of law. So now they can make allegations, use their offices, their prosecutorial tools to build up what they would consider allegations, and not resolve them as a legal matter. Resolve them as a political matter in the House of Representatives. You see my point, Mr. Producer? This is evil. And you have these nundiks on TV, nundiks even in my business, going on and on. Well, Trump, he's not exactly moral. And Trump, he's not exactly a truth teller. They're missing the entire big picture when it comes to the Republic. The entire picture. This isn't about whether Trump is moral. If that's the case, we ought to start up the Salem witch trials and drag out all the people in Congress and the media and all the rest. This has nothing to do with that. This has everything to do with the rule of law and how it's being bastardized. So let me underscore my point again, because there's a lot of static out there. Because Mr. Mueller has finally conceded that you cannot indict a sitting president. Because the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York knows the same thing. They know that their legal theories, that their presentation of the facts will not be tested in a court of law with a judge. They won't be tested. Cohen made a plea deal. This guy Pecker made a plea deal. So they won't be tested, these so-called campaign violations. And they are not campaign violations. I've had the former chairman of the Federal Election Commission on this program yesterday. In April, we went through the scenarios. He was the one who helped write the regulation. He says no. I say no. Just as I said, a sitting president can't be indicted based on the memos that were prepared by the Department of Justice. Why, you're an outlier, Mark. You're an outlier. Now everyone understands it. So what's happening now is all these efforts are being made not to indict a sitting president, which they concede they cannot, but to impeach a sitting president. Because what's happening? Look how the media is being played. Even our friends in the media. Look how they're being played. It looks very bad for the president. Now we have Pecker, who will reinforce Cohen's point about the president directing payment to these women. That influences the campaign. And they just stated something that is perfectly legal. Perfectly legal. And yet on MSNBC and CNN, if you are one of their watchers, one of their viewers, you'll never even hear my points. On my favorite cable station, Fox, you still have half the lawyers on there who don't get it. Hopefully that'll be cleaned up soon enough. And of course, when it comes to the regular so-called news media and the Washington Post, the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, the rest of it, it's hyper time. It's hyper time. My God! Now he's got his former buddy who ran the National Enquirer. He's backing up Cohen. Who cares if he's backing up Cohen? It is not a secret that the president made payments in what are NDAs, National Disclosure Agreements, because he didn't want these women speaking. Whether or not he had relations with them is irrelevant. As I said before, let's say it's a candidate running for president, and he's got this ongoing lawsuit against him personally or against his business or whatever it is. And it's been going on, and it's very negative, and it's giving him a lot of negative news, and he's concerned about it. So he tells his lawyer, settle the damn thing. Go ahead and pay him. I'll reimburse you. Or I'll reimburse you through my corporation. Whatever it is. Settle it. Settle the lawsuit. That's not a campaign violation. And when you look, people want to talk about Trump's morality. Well, let's look at the morality. Here you have two women who've signed non-disclosure agreements who apparently have violated them. Two women who've received funds to sign confidentiality agreements like anybody else out there who signs these agreements or in your employment contract or what have you. And they have violated them. Why? Are they trying to shake them down? Now, that would be unethical. Entering into a contract and violating it, that's unethical. Nobody says a word. Not a thing. But look at these fools, Michael Cohen. Look at this fool, David Pecker. They're pleading to non-existent crimes. Maybe it's because the prosecutors are digging into other stuff so they can write their report. They're going after Manafort because they want to squeeze him. Guilty or not guilty. I'd say to my friends on TV and radio and say, well, it's not a witch hunt. Look, Manafort got an 8 out of 10, and there was one juror, just one juror, rather, in the other 10 counts, and they couldn't move that juror, and she refused to move. They could have gotten her all on 18. That's not a witch hunt. That's not the point, is it? Where's Podesta? What happened to him? Where are the others? What happened to them? There's something called prosecutorial discretion. You decide who you're going to prosecute him, how you're going to prosecute him. They threw everything they had at Manafort in Virginia, and he's teed up for them to throw everything at him in the District of Columbia. They even had him put in solitary confinement. They even went after his information in his home, 6 a.m. in the morning. Apparently his wife was in the shower. That does get your attention. There is something odd about that. And all the rest of this that's gone on at the senior level of the FBI. The senior level of the FBI doesn't even work for the FBI anymore. They've either been fired or under investigation or both. Isn't that rather shocking? I'd say so. You had a spy in the Trump campaign at the direction of the FBI. I'd find that pretty amazing, don't you? No, we're supposed to all stop on our heels, sudden stop, because of Michael Cohen, the guy from the National Enquirer, Lanny Davis running around in the Southern District of New York. But when you look at it all, the president is in no legal jeopardy. And that's what's amazing about this. You have prosecutors who are using their offices, the tools that prosecutors have, that investigators have, not to charge the President of the United States. They concede they can't. But to remove him from office by writing a report. And I'm convinced this Michael Cohen matter and the report will include Trump violating our campaign laws. Trump this, Trump that, just one after another after another. And as I say, because the president cannot be indicted, this is particularly devious. It is particularly evil. Because they do not have to test any of this stuff in the court. We have something that's really never happened, certainly not to this extent in our history. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, a concocted U.S. Attorney's Office in the Special Counsel, developing criminal case after criminal case that they cannot bring against the President of the United States. In one case, certainly based on bogus campaign law interpretations. In the other case, bogus obstruction arguments. They're going to lay it all out from their perspective, from their advocacy perspective. It'll be treated like the Ten Commandments, like Moses coming down after receiving the tablets from God, coming down the mountain, and here he is, and there it is, and the House of Representatives has no choice, none, but to remove the President of the United States. This is exactly what's taking place. President hasn't committed obstruction. President hasn't violated campaign laws. People who have a microphone and a camera in their face, who pretend to be conservative, should stand up and find this to be outrageous. But so many of them don't. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I'm actually somebody who cares about the Constitution, other than some people who say they do and then jump like rats off of a sinking ship. It's amazing. People positioning themselves and broadcasting. If you care about the Constitution, you should be repulsed, literally repulsed by what's taking place. We have prosecutors accountable to nobody, making allegations. You have individuals with all these charges lined up against them who are making bargains. They're plea deals. You have the case of Cohen. His representative is Lanny Davis, and Lanny Davis's conduct the last 2 days shows you what his primary issue is: Trump, not his client, in my humble opinion. But this is very clever, and it's being done in the shadows, and I guarantee you that the special counsel and the deputy U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York are coordinating. There's overlap of personnel and a singular purpose. They're coordinating. And they're building up allegations against the president. That's all they are. And that's why they were so desperate to get these campaign so-called violation accounts pled to by Cohen. And you can see Lanny Davis running around and see, that means the president's guilty too, and the president's guilty too, and the president's guilty too. The president's not guilty of anything. These are not campaign violations. Then they get the National Enquirer guy to say, yes, Trump agreed and directed those payments. As a matter of fact, we made payments here to make sure we wouldn't run certain stories and so forth. Campaign violations. No, they're not campaign violations. Not in the least. The fact that you cannot indict a sitting president is now being used against the president in a very, very diabolical way. You have prosecutors making allegations that cannot be challenged and tested in a court of law during the course of a trial against a president of the United States. And they intend to put him in an impeachment report and send it to the House.